Ciao, Colin. Ciao, Bambini. Welcome aboard. How was your week?
Glad to be back. My week has been nothing short of disastrous. Every material object that I own, including these headphones, is like falling apart this week. So it's been one of those weeks. I'm glad I'm here on the last remaining raft out of the Titanic. How has your week been?
Probably less destructive than that. It does seem kind of quick. We were just talking before we went live from last weekend. The happiest thing in my life is the TV show White Lotus because it's got Jennifer Coolidge in
Yes.
it.
One of the world's leading drag queen performers.
Absolutely, absolutely.
A
So if you
bio
haven't,
queen.
yeah, if you guys haven't found it yet, that you're watching this, you want to be in on it. You want to be in there. The first and kind of largest module of the course, the UFOs, fairies, and Psychos came live for premium members, which is relevant to our discussion of last week's card, the dog, because there was some St. Guinevere stuff in it. But yeah, other than that, that's what I've been doing with the previous 27 minutes.
This is like the beach from Old, which is a reference. I've not seen this movie, but apparently it's like where every minute is 10 years, but we're the reverse. As a flash, and then here we are again.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. I turn around and think, I wonder what everyone's up to, and I wonder what kind of drag talk we can have. And if you guys saw this week's episode of All Stars as well, Michelle and I are the same age, 29. That's pretty good.
Correct.
That was. I don't like to be that kind of gay that squeals at a drag show, and I usually don't. I did then.
I fully I got forward. I kind of did a Michelle laugh when I heard the joke.
That's like the
like,
Mrs.
oh,
Krabappel laugh. That's what I love about her.
I was like, oh, they listen to the show. That's cute. Well,
Yeah.
right, guys.
Obviously, they're one of the I don't think Rue paid for it, but like they're one of the 36. Maybe she bought all 36 of the Fortune's Fool's card because she's of like the top tier decks with that
That's
good.
great. And you guys
model.
remember you can still pre-order the not Michelle Visage deck, the regular deck, fortunesville/fortunesville.
We have settled. Well, settled's the wrong word, but Rue is firmly penciled in for our King of Diamonds.
Oh yeah.
Deck,
That's right. I
good.
forgot. That was see, because that whole conversation happened like post show for me. That was like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I was in like a reverie of like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I can see his little diamond head as well. Like he has a diamond shaped head in this fantasy.
Exactly. No, I think it's going to be good. I think
No
like
wag.
it. I think boy drag Rue as the King of Diamonds with those suits and some sort of fierce jewels jewelry.
Yeah.
I think he's a good
Fabulous.
choice. And again, like I mentioned in the chat, any resemblance to any person's alive or dead is strictly coincidental.
Yes,
So
indeed.
officially, as we refine the list going over the next few months of the courts for our playing cards, we have visual references rather than that is the Rachel Weisz card or whatever or the John Boyega card or whatever it happens to be, because we haven't sold enough of we have, but like we haven't sold out of the main $80 decks yet, so we can't afford to be sued.
Yet.
Exactly.
And then like,
Look, if they sell out, it's on John Boyega. Bring it on.
He's
But
got
otherwise-
enough problems in Hollywood. He doesn't need to be coming to us.
All right. So
Okay.
in terms of, I just got to move my chat so I don't lose it when I get to the running order. In terms of where we are going, where do we want to start? Do we want to start with previous card business, or do we want to start with pips?
Let's. Oh, good question. Let's do previous card and then move into pips.
Very good. So we will go with the bear to begin with. Just going to jump that one over and talk us through what's happening here.
Let's see. Okay, this is. I'm just waiting for it to show up. Come on, phone. Run a very high tech operation at my end. Whereas I want an iPad and a phone.
And you got
So
masking
this is
tape on the
just
headphones.
yeah, basket tape on a thing. Yeah, exactly. Like if the ceiling falls in during this show, guys, do not be surprised. Yeah, so just finished up the actual design of the card. We did the last week. I really like that you said the ninja pose for Shaman Lady, where she's like, and that like because behind the fence, it just wasn't. It was too much of a.
Yeah.
It was too muddied, and it was even once it kind of rendered it a lot more, it still looked like a weird ghost. So yeah, she's got furs on now. She's got her drum and her drumstick. She's banging like she's
Oh, is
doing her
that what that
shaman.
is?
She
Yeah, I see that.
yeah.
Okay, I thought it was like a mag light flashlight maybe, and I'm like, that's also pretty fucking cool. That's like
Yeah,
a Buffy
well,
accessory.
the little candle things kind of read as flares, which
So that's
like
why that's what I was thinking. Like it's real
yeah,
chaos magic energy.
I wasn't like, and I kind of liked that because it made sense and it kind of matched the smoke from like the burning sort of industrial estate like beyond the gate. So I yeah, and there was an issue for me personally with the color balance. So the lower half was like really white because there was snow everywhere. And I was like, oh, I've drawn like daytime snow, and this is like a night scene, and that so it was just like it looked like two separate kind of environments. So I put a little filter on that and kind of darkened it and sort of adjusted things. Added in our little beautiful shaman lady doing her work.
Probably does need. You're
And
right though. Probably does need to be a little less bright, doesn't it? Even now.
do
What do you
you
think?
think the bear could be doing with being less bright?
Yeah, but
Because I
also
did
I
try
think you're
that.
right. I think it fades um, in the bottom left. I don't know. I see what you mean. I think maybe the bear could be a little bit less bright. What I like about this is really close. What I like about it, and I think this is our cards in general, and I'm going to say it here, and somebody remind me to put it in the book when I write it. But what we've done is make sure that the core signification of each card is, as we've spoken about from the beginning, very obvious when you have it down in a
Yeah.
tableau. But the secondary significations are if you are invited to go or required to go further into the card, because there's a rhythm to Lenormand reading where you look for the moon or the
Totally.
tower or whatever. And when you see them, usually most of the response to the question is at the level of lily or moon or child or what have you. But if more nuance is required, you drop down into typically the inset, which of course is very important for us. But the secondary bear stuff, and I was thinking about this even to the point of having the Northern Lights, is there if you need to go deeper into it, right? So
Yeah.
there's the female component of it, there's the protection, there's the sort of like fairy vengeance or response. And if you think about the Northern Lights are what happens when our atmosphere protects us from astral radiation. That's what causes them, right? So it's actually all in there, but you don't need to know it unless you need to know it. Does that make sense? So while this looks like, and I think that's a testament to your kind of background and interest in comics back when they were good, is it's that simple yet inviting to be more complex method of visual storytelling where you can get it kind of at the level of a pictogram, but if you want to or feel called to go deeper, it's kind of like that in all the cards. So that's what I see here is, so a comic book artist can do, and this would be you in this case, a good comic book artist does a complicated or complex mise en scène that is also easily identifiable. And I think that's what I like about the bear card, that it's complex, but it isn't. Like if you're looking for the bear on a tableau, you'll find it straight away. But if you need more bear story, you can kind of like jump into it. So I'm really, really happy with this. But you're probably right. I think it's almost like in the bottom left near the Siberian flowers, in between the Siberian flowers and Maglite Buffy.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe just like a mound or a snowdrift. Like, do you know what I mean? Like pull it down so it might
So
be a bit
something
more
to
like
darken the
ground.
area. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. It's kind of it's shaped up quite well. But yeah, totally agree with that. Like, I've I have a few Lenormand decks, and I don't tell Mother Camellia again, but I do kind of read. One shouldn't, but like when the question calls for it, you do kind of read it like a tarot. You kind of go in and you look at all, as much if there's any detail at all, you kind of look into it. But it's part of we're we're cinematographers. Truly, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. I was chatting to Austin about the project this week actually, and different cards, and I said, "Oh no!" I was chatting to Austin, and we were talking about different. He was talking about nagas, and I was talking about different snake ceremonies, and because that's the stuff we talk about when we don't talk about drag queen. Austin is a huge RuPaul fan, for people who don't know. Anyway, I said, it's all in the same cinematic universe anyway, and he's like, wow, good term, and I'm like, yeah, that was Colin. That's how, that's how we think about it. That's how we think about the project, rather than it being an imaginal landscape and all these things, which it is. There's a fun way of saying that, which is this in the same cinematic universe? And the bear card, for instance, is in the same cinematic universe as the Michelle Gomez snake card.
Indeed. And this leads to, so this was the first proper insert, the proper use of like the inset. So again, this is just the beginning of this journey of to pull a phrase, the game within a game.
Exactly.
We are beginning this journey proper, because I think it's time now where I'm at a place where I know exactly what I'm doing, and I know exactly how long things take, so we can start designing essentially the second deck within the deck. And be comfortable with it for time and stuff.
So let's have that chat, because that's one of the other things you did this week, and I'm going to share and this is not a pretty, this is just my desk, right? But earlier in the week, this is that Provo 1793 card deck that I actually bought at Treadwell's last year in London before I had to flee Europe and get trapped on the other side of the world. And it's a reprint, obviously, of a playing card deck from St. Suzanne in 1793, which is why it says Suzanne underneath the Jack of Clubs there, if you can read that, right? But what I like about this is what I was referencing last week, is that it's hand drawn. So we've been using, just as a placeholder, I know this confuses people, but we've been using a kind of like really organic or like hand cut placeholder of where the inset's going to go, and that will actually probably translate over to the final card deck. But that same idea of it being hand-drawn cards is something we want to carry on. And the reason I pulled these ones out and wanted to take a picture of it is you will note that it isn't necessarily standard or required for the courts to be mirrored, because if we go back to the Rachel Weisz card from last week, she's not mirrored, and I like how that Queen of Hearts looks with the baby and the stained glass heart and what have you. And I think that we wouldn't want to fuck it up by mirroring it. So this is the example of, it's not just that there's precedent. This is from 1793, so it's original. So it's the other ones who are copying. How about that?
Yeah, guys, get with it. You sent me this, and then I googled for images of the deck, and I had like an American Psycho experience of like, you could see the card stock and stuff, and I was just like, this is so fucking cute. I was into like, it's gorgeous. And definitely like that kind of hand drawn. It's just, that's, I think, and it contrasts nicely with the main image, which is more produced and more, more like cinematic, or more has more fidelity, as we said in a previous episode.
There we go. Because I
like the contrast.
Yeah. So this is something you kind of quickly whipped up this week, and we should, I know, because this is everyone gets a little bit confused with these placeholder stuff. Those aren't the borders, but talk us through this.
So the borders there that I'm using are just they're scaled for the traditional playing card dimensions. So just so that we know what we're doing with in terms of space, what we have to play with when we come to sort of print that deck, and what we can do with it. Because there's these we want to have, I would imagine, more information on the deck, do we want like a written number, like that kind of thing? Like,
I honestly don't know yet, because if we go, I'm just going to jump back to the Provo 1793. I don't hate that.
Have that, do they?
I don't hate that.
Mm. And
I
it should be obvious with the illustration if it's a queen or if it's a king. Like you
no,
should
exactly.
really be able at a glance. If you can't look at it at a glance and see this is who this is, then it's kind of a failed. It's a failed attempt.
Yeah.
In terms of this simple an illustration, it should be obvious.
So what I think the numbers in it, I think the numbers became, this is a fucking take, right? I'm just going to give you my guess on it. But I think the numbers in the top left, bottom right of playing cards happened as games where you would be holding them up in front of you became more prominent.
Right.
So that you can play
Yeah,
poker and see them. This is a take. I think it's a good one.
that is.
But
Yeah,
there
I'm
are playing card
interested.
historians. I'm not envisioning them being used in that way very often. Perfectly on board with putting the numbers in if we need them later on. It is a slight change, but there's something really nice about having it kind of being a little bit more antique-y. And you can fucking, again, it's kind of like, well, then if you've got 5 cards in your hand, 1 or 2 of them are courts, they're fairly obvious. You can remember the other 3. If you don't have the mental capacity to remember the other 3, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else?
That's it. Game within a game.
So for now,
But yeah, no,
how are you feeling about it? I'm
the
feeling like no numbers. What do people in the chat say while I bring it back up? Especially as, let me just jump back to the bear. So the bear was the first one. Again, ignore the borders. The bear was the first one to get the non-numerical pip inset treatment. And I like it. I think that looks really good. But if anyone in the chat has a particular or singular reason where actually I need the numbers for this reason or whatever, it's still open to when we'll do it. But yes, so anything else we want to say about the pips?
as we go along, we'll play with like this kind of stained glass idea to see if we can squeeze it in. It might end up,
Not happening.
yeah, it might end up like we'll see. We'll see week to week. So, because I think if we have the images and we have the pips, we again the stained glass is it was an idea I had initially, but
well, so the Queen of Hearts does look
complicate things.
Yeah, the Queen of Hearts does look really good with it. So we'll see what happens. Like, because the trouble is, you can see it there with the heart. You go, okay, that looks potentially glass-like. It's going to be a struggle with sort of black glass otherwise, but it may not. It may not need it. It's more like you kind of want the possibilities to pull down the glass influence slightly on the quartz. But still have the stained glass-ish, because the quartz are their own beings, right?
Yeah. Well, the
Ryan's saying indices came along with mirroring, so keep it consistent and skip it. Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah. All right, fucking print that.
The 2 black pips actually have, it may not show like in the screen grab I've sent, but they do have like a blue shimmer to them.
Okay,
so
cool.
that would in the print version, because you send the full file to the printer, that would be like a high resolution, that would be visible. So yeah, that's like something to go, because I didn't want it just to be black and then we had the color, the reds with like
that's awesome then. Okay. And stuff. Yeah, well, let's keep pulling on that.
So there is like something to play on there.
Yeah. Nice one. So shall we jump to the doggo progress?
Let's shall.
All right. And the finals separate. But if you guys missed last week, Saint Guinevere, who's an important saint for French people and Rune Soup Premium members, is our inspiration here. There is a final, not like final, but there's a further development of this. But talk us through it, where you're at now.
Okay. So just like looking at the obviously the episode was like, it was pretty like the cunt board, excuse me, images were pretty informative, and the process of talking about the story of the card was good, and it was just like Seymour and all this kind of stuff. So I was feeling that I was in the zone for it. And a greyhound isn't actually a dog I'm that familiar with. Like it just isn't very common around these, so it's not something I have like a lived experience with. So it was nice to kind of get to know the little fucker. But yeah, the idea was like it's on this kind of grassy knoll and it's looking out over, almost as if it's looking out over like the household or something. So maybe that it's on the other side is like the house guard or something. I don't know, but it's overlooking a kind of protect, is it in a protective nature was the
Yeah.
kind of idea.
And the
Um,
card before it, just numerically, is of course the stork. So the little
yeah, and it facing it.
Bambino card, and the following card is the tower. So it's actually a pretty fucking good Saint Guinevere story anyway, because he was a lord's dog in a tower protecting it from a snake. Like the whole Saint Guinevere myth is in the Lenormand deck. So yeah, pretty happy with how it's looking. I just want to point out because when we get to the final card, we were chatting during the week about how we wanted the halo. And what I kind of like, and I'll actually we're going to jump between the two of them. So this is where it's at the moment. And in particular, it's a slightly different treatment of the halo. Now, coming back to how it went here, the one on the right, I actually quite like. And as I said to Colin, I'll tell you for why. It's kind of got that UFO Sirius aspect, but it is also a like archetypal reference back to Göbekli Tepe, because they actually sort of look like T-pillars, or they reference T-pillars in a circle. So you kind of get that halo. St. Guinevere's feast day is coming up on the 22nd. Dog Day is Sirius is in the sky. So there does need to be a like, again, what we're talking about with the bear, you can find Doggo fairly easily in the deck just because of how it's done. But if you need to go deeper, and one of the things we spoke about is the inclusion of fireflies, because if you've done module 1 of the UFOs Fairy and Psi course, in the 13th century outside Lyon, villagers would take their children they believed to be changelings to a grove that was sacred to St. Guinevere and basically abuse them, pass them through a burnt tree 9 times, leave them alone for the length of a candle, dunk them in a well, anything to just like expel fairies or remove or have their baby swapped back out, right? And St. Guinevere is a protective saint, so they're basically doing Guinevere fairy magic. Here we have again a dog protecting a baby, and of course that grove was burned down by Catholic authorities. But that's what is referencing here. And to get that little kind of like fairy wink, I suppose, we have the little firefly reference. That's where we went. What am I missing about that description, Colin?
No, that's very good. They used to do crazy shit like that with cats here, like in the north of Scotland. Like they really had a tough time back in the day. um, but yeah, that's pretty cool. We'll go through sort of. So which of the two, like the more traditional Saint disc or the sort of the Gobekli
Oh,
like
wrong one,
UFO
sorry.
situation?
I think if you kind of tone down the UFO ring a bit,
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
prefer it.
Yeah.
But if you kind of tone it down slightly, because if you look at this, that's great. And I don't hate that. But if we tone it down, kind of blend it like drag makeup,
Right. Got him.
blend it a bit more.
Gordon, my dragon mother. There we go. No, totally. This feels like it'll be like a bear situation where I'll do like a few renders just to, like the elements are all there, but it just needs to I need to kind of go over everything with a fine tooth comb to get everything kind of at a depth and a feel that feels like it's a finished item. I also will say, random sort of side note, the eyes. I tried to. You can't see it obviously in a YouTube video, but I've tried to give the little fucker's eyes that kind of glow that like the angels and demons in Constantine had in the movie, like Tilda Swinton, where like you look at it and you're like, oh, that's like a great like an extraterrestrial supernatural being or whatever. So it has like a golden glow. And I tried to get it again. I'm able to zoom in on this, and it's just pixels.
Yeah.
So I tried to give him like that kind of glow, so that he's like, oh, he's not just a good boy; he's capital G good boy.
Yeah. That's very cool. You could sort of see the eyes a bit more on the one with the Saint halo, but the consensus in the chat does appear to be like a drag blended Göbekli Tepe halo rather than a traditional Saint one. Because Nathan's point's quite good. It does look kind of like the sun. It looks like a halo. It looks like a iconographic.
Yeah, that's right. Because
halo.
Yeah, someone last week suggested making the halo the moon, and then there was an issue with that because we have moon cards. Yeah, that's a fair point.
So I think a more blended Göbekli Tepe one is the win. It's more in our cinematic universe, just to use that term that I invented.
Indeed.
All right. So this week is the Tower. And it's not my favorite. I was sort of chatting in the Ansible beforehand that it's not the Chaos Magician's favorite card. I actually shouted defund the Tower in the Ansible because it is the card of officialdom and orthodoxy, right? And it's very different to the Tower in the Tarot, which is coming down. So that's an upending of social order. The Tower here stands, right? And it's actually, so on a health perspective, it's about longevity, and it can actually be quite a good card in the right discussion or relationship with others when it comes to health. Like, you will live long. Like if you have a serious health issue and you get the Tower in conversation with heart and so on, and someone's having surgery, scythe, heart, Tower, like instead of coffin, you go, oh no, he'll carry on for a bit is one of those opportunities. But it is the card of orthodoxy, universities, the Catholic Church, and so on, which means in our cinematic universe, term I invented, it needs to, what we were saying before, like you need to be able to find the Tower very easily, but you also need to be able to have like a anarchist, animist, chaos magic take on it if it's there. And the take isn't that the Tower is coming down. The point is it's not. And that will be we will return to that message when we get to the song part. But between now and then, let us jump to the board de cunt, and we will have a look at what the fuck I'm talking about now. And thank you for reminding me that in 2000 there was the other ones didn't get put up, Colin? The ones I sent?
Sorry?
Hold on. The what do you call it? Tower. Actually, do you have the capacity to put them up now? Because if not, I might be able to add...
Yeah, hold on. I'm sure. I thought
oh, no, there we go. Sorry, I just didn't hit refresh. There we go. Cool.
Okay, cool.
Thank you for reminding me that in 2000 there was a not actually that shit miniseries on Mervyn Peake's Gormenghast book. So we downloaded that after our chat, and that's what we're going to watch this weekend.
It's one of those ones.
I was 7 when it came out, obviously, because of M29. And yeah.
I remember that. So it's been a while since I watched it. I think possibly when it was broadcast. I remember Zoe Wanamaker playing like twin princesses, which was pretty great. So it was pretty good. And the twink that became the sort of he played like the king and the Tudors. It's got a lot of like throwback, a lot of early starts in there.
So for people who don't know, the classic series of books, the Gormenghast trilogy by Mervyn Peake, and Castle Gormenghast is this beautiful and powerful metaphor for like a sclerotic orthodoxy. So there's all these rituals that people have to do at different times that have just been done forever, and there's a sort of cynicism and don't really know about it, but it's this wonderful metaphor of bureaucracy and orthodoxy, and it's not necessarily failings as much as it's unassailability, like it's sclerotic and it will collapse in and of itself. So the Tower is, you'd sort of think it would be surprising that we haven't gone in a Lord of the Rings direction, but it doesn't quite match how the Tower speaks to the rest of the cards. In Lenormand, it sort of is, because there's that longevity. So if you think of Orthanc, it's basically impossible to attack. So it is Orthanc rather than either the Minas Morgul or Minas Tirith or anything that Sauron's, but these things come down. Orthanc was older and couldn't be assailed correctly, right? So that's, if we were going to pick a tower from Lord of the Rings, it would be that. But what we're going to do is have it also secondarily needs to do so. It's this, but not as cartoonish, right? It's this, but matching our cinematic universe. So a tower, a Gormenghast that's on a hill in a landscape that is not as cartoonish as this, but still has that high whimsy fantasy element to it. Because it also needs to, again, coming back to orthodoxy and defund the tower, my inspiration in quote unquote real life are crusader castles. So that's a real good read on a tower. First of all, they're up on the hills and they're alone, because the tower can also be loneliness or isolation. So if it's in conversation in a relationship, you might be talking about a marriage where people aren't really speaking to each other, or someone feels isolated or what have you. So it has to be on a hill, and it has to be a tower that I would like to defund. Both of those things are crusader towers, as far as I'm concerned. These are ruins, and they can't be a ruin. That is a different story. That's actually much more a tarot story, because the whole point, although they are still there, the whole point of the tower is the persistence of orthodoxy, the persistence of law and order. So this is not a crusader tower. This is Montségur, a place I was supposed to sneak into in the middle of the night last year to do an astro ritual, but I had to flee Europe. So I kind of generally prefer this landscape. So you'll be looking in like a Cathar land landscape for, and this is a day scene.
Day scene.
Yeah, because again, it can see. It's sort of like the opposite of the clouds in that sense, that the sun is still shining on it.
This is like if you put them together, like the tarot card is like to the left of the cloud, where it's like it's higher above and it has a better vantage.
Yeah. So that is the kind of like there on Cuntboard is the inspiration. We're going in a Gormenghast direction rather than rather than a tarot or Lord of the Rings direction. But what are your thoughts?
Like that. That's like my brain went straight to the Terry Pratchett Wizard Tower that it just like had built itself over the like thousands of years, and no one really understood or what its purpose was or what big people worked there, and like no one had ever been to the top and all this kind of crazy stuff.
That's not far off. That's not far off, because
it's part of like an ancient useless kind of sometimes useless kind of organization. So that was, but the depictions that I've ever seen of that are a bit too, again, jolly and kind of like light fantasy, kind of Stardust.
Yeah. And it doesn't.
Whereas obviously you want a bit more of a gothic kind of medieval, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. So like
the one that looks a little bit more like a city that has the white raven in it, a bit more like a cancerous tower made of cathedrals. So sort of
lots of tumors.
Yeah, well, not actual tumors, but like it grows in an like because there's a sort of subtle. It's so Mark Fisher who wrote that. Escape from the Vampire's Castle about shit libs and Twitter pylons and the collapse of the left. He calls it the Vampire's Castle. Of course, Curtis Yarvin about 15 years before that, 10 years before that, called it the Cathedral, which is that combined orthodoxy of correct opinions and government and media and officialdom inside universities, all kind of like agreeing to what the world looks like. So he calls it the Cathedral or Vampire's Castle. I call it the Vampire's Cathedral because I enjoy the blending of those two. Because Vampire's Castle is way more meta and metal than the Cathedral, because it's quite distractive and whatever. So it's kind of that's why Gormenghast works. And what you were saying about Terry Pratchett and the Wizard's Tower is orthodoxy and correct opinion and the official view of reality do build themselves. And that's one of the reasons they're so persistent. Like the building of a tower is not, the building of the tower in Lenormand is not the intentional act of one person. It's what happens when powerful people agree, make the decision to agree with each other to remain in power. So that's why it's a defund the tower attitude. We
Yeah, so
want to.
it's a real bunion ridden foot of a car. Like
Yeah.
just shoot it like hot shoehorned in there.
The I'm just going to jump back
I like
to
it.
yeah, just going to jump back to Cuntboard because I like. I actually really like this image. It's not right for us. I think it's great though. That, I mean, it's a vertical card, so it's slightly different, but this sort of discussion with the space is sort of where I'm going. I think it's easier to see in the Monsegur card, but this has the same kind of like, this is meta. Like it doesn't really exist in reality because the tower, for something that's so persistent, doesn't really exist in reality, but it's all on its own, surrounded by this landscape. So I quite like this. It's a great image. It's just not right for us. But in terms of how the space is used, it's that or it's this one, but with way more like height, way more maybe sky or something, but not necessarily sky, but like way more. Way more's not quite right. This shot is cut too low. Put it that way. We need more,
like more depth. Yeah, more depth of horizon. Kind of
yes,
like it's far reaching.
Yeah. So if you kind of put this fun,
Cool.
this is the closest in theme, tone, whatever you want. So if you blend that with the one that's on that kind of like cartoonish promontory, so it's not this whole kind of like city thing. It is still one actual tower because it's not the gloomy city. It still needs to be the tower card, but the energy of this is kind of more what we're going for.
Yeah, is there like a city below it, or is that kind of irrelevant? Like,
If the,
as
I wouldn't, I don't think so. I think because the tower needs to be lonely, right?
right.
So it does need to be big and kind of like made of cathedral, and so it certainly has people in it, but it's lonely. So it needs to do that because I thought like, well, maybe we crib from Lord of the Rings and have like Minas Tirith 7 walled sections. If it feels like it needs city, it should be in a Minas Tirith walled sense going down the promontory, right? But I don't think it's there, or otherwise it misses the loneliness of it.
And it's huge, obviously. So it's like
Yeah,
we're viewing it at a distance,
yeah.
and it's also the horizon behind it stretches like far. So yeah, let's go. So I guess like just with the height of it and the sort of the dimensions of a car, do we want anything else? Because that may be kind of sort of like how the dog card was sort of one-sided, or we're going with that again where it's like maybe there's just a one-sided kind of
I think so.
balance to it.
So if the tower, like, because there's two, what I think it is us looking at the tower like that cartoonish card to start with. But what it might be looking at the gloomy city one, I just don't see how this works, is if we're actually in the tower looking out, it gives you more opportunity to put stuff in the foreground. But I don't, if I'm wrong, that's cool. Like I've been wrong about a bunch of them. If it's like, no, it doesn't work because it's a playing card dimension, it doesn't work. Looking at it, you don't get the right signification. Then it kind of makes it much more like that gloomy city image instead. But I don't think it's that. I think you're going to have to get the imaginal drone back up in the air and see how it looks in and around the landscape.
I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm kind of starting. Yeah, we have like the inset, we have the tower, and then the inset, and then the land kind of stretching below it, and then a kind of bluish sky. We don't want clouds, I guess, because that is too similar to the cloud card. But like,
No, there might be clouds in the sky. You never know. So actually, some of the more classic, some of the sort of late 19th century Lenormand tower cards have it as a ruin and almost like a Crusader ruin, but in like the bottom left. And again, it's too pastoral and annoying to take much inspiration from it. But we may end up, I don't think so, but we may end up going in a direction like that. I just really like that really heightened Gormenghast improbable tower on a hill. I think that's more our cinematic universe. But if you're a bit stuck looking for like, how do I get the scale of something like a tower. So this is one of the cards, because it's kind of easy. This is one of the cards where the old-timey Lenormands may have something of value in them.
Cool. Yeah, because cool. Okay, that's it. Yeah. I'm excited to do it because it's kind of it's a dramatic card, but also it's like architecture, which is my least favorite thing. But also it kind of has a good, like I enjoy the substance of it, and the image you're kind of feeding me is like a strong one. So like we're in a good zone for it. I think it's kind of like the bear card, where it's a strong concept, and we have enough to go on with it. So let's see what we can do with it.
Yeah.
Do we know what is the inset for the tarot card?
It's 6 of spades, right? So that's actually a justice and consequences card. So it's a legal card. One, it's balanced. It's the 6 of spades, but it's also it's almost like cause and effect. But in this context, it's like, if you get caught speeding, you'll go to court. It's like a literal, you will be punished by the law kind of card, right? So it's also, you'd probably be able to pull it back and go, coming back to when spades used to be heraldry, like heraldry hanging in a hall. But I think it showed up. I think the match happened there between Lenormand and playing cards, because it is like a law and order, a cause and effect, kind of like the card of, I don't want to say judgment, because again, it's a tarot card, but it is that Solomon saying, the pie shall be cut in half, and both men shall receive death. I shall eat the pie, right? It's that kind of precision. So, yes. Do we want to do songs? Or is there anything else you want to say or ask? Oh, I should mention, because I haven't even mentioned, like, I don't want to say new merch. If you live in southern Tasmania, this high quality merch takes a while to get to us. And we will be having more merch by the end of next week, because we've been playing around with it. And there'll be some Rune Soup and some members only merch if you happen to be a member and you're watching this. But this beanie, love it. Loved it. I'm back on my beanies. Yeah, and it's kind of like, it's my East 17 tower. So if I pull it up like that, it's a tower beanie. So it's appropriate for now.
I always struggle with a beanie, because I feel like I'm not, like, I just like really just like cram that bitch right around my cranium, like, and you're wearing it how it's supposed to be worn, and I'm just like, nope. Like the sort of the hard ones of Scotland demand that this needs to be around
so
my chin.
I have a really cool, I'm really happy with it, a sort of like a bright yellow smiley face Chinese market Urban Outfitters beanie, and that's one that you pull down, but you look spherical. You look like a 55-year-old like sea captain, like you're going to go out and check like the lobster pots or something.
Yeah,
and that's a real good energy.
30 years away from us, so
yeah, exactly. But this one I could probably do that. Get my sea captain on by just rolling it up. It kind of works. But yeah, see, I look when I wear my glasses. When I wear my glasses with it, I look like Tim Pool when I pull my beanie down like this. So I tend to go with the E17 look instead. But yeah, beanie, I like it. Love it. Some of you are heading into winter, so this is maybe my favorite thing in the merch store so far, because it's got like the woven chaos star at the
it's cute. It's like when we looked at the design of the merch, some of it just didn't, the space that it gives you to kind of, because obviously a machine has to sort of sew it, I guess. You have to, it can't be too complicated or detailed, because it is like a sewn, so it has like quality, because it's not just printed on as like you get some kind of like cheap merch and stuff that's like printed on like that kind of plastic photo kind of thing.
Yeah, this is good. This is embroidered. So this
sewn and embroidered into the garment.
Yeah. This and the metal mug are my favorites so far, but there'll be more coming out. But yeah, anything else about the tower card before we move to the song?
No, it sounds like it's going to be a jolly week of getting involved in that. And I look forward to posting sketches of it in the Telegram group. Again, if you're not in the Telegram group, Fortune's Fools, you're only getting half the story.
Correct.
And sometimes that story is just me posting TikToks, but don't worry about it. Of bears like that terrify me. So that's part of the fun. It's an immersive experience, okay?
Absolutely. So what's your song?
So the song is what is my song? Oh, Castle by Halsey.
Really good choice. Good song.
She's going into some old bastard's castle and like dethroning them, but they're like they're being stodgy about it, like they're not going easily. It's the kind of the setup of the song. Also, it's like just one of those like cinematic trailer songs. Like she did a version of it for the Snow Queen or the one of those Charlize Theron movies about Snow White. And it was like really like that kind of shit is like crack to me. I have no taste in music and I am absolutely proud to admit that. So that kind of shit is like crack cocaine to me. Just like trailer music, ghost girl singing, love it.
Trailer music. I went with "I Fought the Law" by the Bobby Full of Four because it has that unassailability. "I Fought the Law" and "The Law Won" is what you should hear in your head when the tower comes up and you're like thinking, because it's actually the tower of like it's a card of going to prison as well. But if you have a court case coming up and it ends on the tower, you're nicked. So I fought the law and the law won. The other options were "I'm Still Standing" and "Playing with the Big Boys Now" from Prince of Egypt, because that actually has that the sort of falsity of orthodoxy, because if people don't remember the scene because it came out before you were born like me, basically Moses uses the power of God to turn his staff into an actual snake, and then Pharaoh's two high priests sing this song about "You're playing with the big boys now," and they're pretending that they have all these cool powers, but it's actually all like the Wizard of Oz staged. Yeah. So that is my read on whenever, like, I have a very cynical take of orthodoxy and officialdom. So it's either that or "I Fought the Law" and the law won. And I'm still standing because I'm like, oh, I kind of want something gayer than Prince of Egypt, which had a very famous duet in it that couldn't be gayer.
Well, indeed, yeah. And just for everyone, like, if you are of like much like us, a younger generation, that was when they actually like hand drew animated movies. Like people drew a movie.
Weird.
You don't get that now, obviously. I know, right? Creeps.
All right. Well, no, we've done well. We mentioned the merch, gone through the other cards, mentioned the pips. This has been a very efficient and enlightening.
We show. We're like halfway through the process now. Like, this is like 1918, right? Card.
Yeah.
So this is like the halfway, but we know what we're doing. We're a firm and positive thinking business. I think that's what I was saying. It's like, so at the beginning of the process, it was taking me like a week or 2 weeks to kind of get to grips with a card, and now I'm like 2 or 3 days, and then I have to go back and like do another day or two on it. But it's like we're running a tight ship now. Like, I quite enjoy it.
Yeah. You're right. This is officially the halfway mark, and I'm just sort of thinking about, we have more than half sold, so we are running ahead of sales. So there you go.
Again, get them while you can, because I will not be on eBay fucking selling this shit, because I've had an experience with eBay this week, which after this podcast, this show, I am officially leaving the internet. Like, I just do not want to do it anymore. I'm done.
Nice one. Well, see you guys in the chat, and I can see already people are posting like Cathar and Crusader Castle kind of stuff. So we will be talking castles and Gormenghast. And if you can find the miniseries, again, I haven't watched it since, I don't want to say since it came out because I was a child, but I haven't watched it since it came out. And I remember it being good, and we're going to watch it this weekend. So I'm going to recommend it in like, this is better than you think. If you can find the 2000 Gorman Goss, I think it has Stephen Fry in it.
Everyone that was ever English and an actor.
Yeah. That was sort of, because it's 2000, so it's like Blair era British confidence.
Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, that's the sort of young upstart. That's his name. Yeah. It's crazy.
And back then, because of how British film and TV worked, if you had a project of any kind, everyone was in it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Dawn French will be in there somewhere. Like
Dame Judy.
You know, I mean, we're like, we have them on. We'll just bring them in. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Stick a wig on them.
All right. Well, guys, again, useful stuff in the chat. And yeah, see you in the Telegram group. And see you.
Bye, guys.
Yeah. Ciao.